This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Hey folks, we have a new sponsor here at the Crypto Conversation. Today's episode is brought to you by Coinsbee.com, the go-to platform for spending your crypto. With the biggest selection of brands across all gift card platforms and live in over 185 countries, Coinsbee supports the most relevant local brands for your everyday needs. They support more than 200 cryptocurrencies and offer a vast product range from gift cards, game points to mobile phone top-ups. Can't find what you're looking for? No worries. Coinsbee also offers Visa and MasterCard prepaid cards. So just go to Coinsbee.com and turn your digital assets into real-world possibilities. And now it is on with the show. My guest today is Boris Alergant. Boris is the head of DeFi at Ripple, stewards, of course, of the XRP ledger. Welcome to the show, Boris.
Thanks for having me, Andy. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you here, Boris. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be great if you could please introduce yourself. I'd love to hear a little bit of your personal story. What have you been doing in the lead up to becoming head of DeFi at Ripple?
Sure. I've had quite a journey. I actually started at Ripple as an intern. But to talk about how I got to Ripple is probably great to start with my, I guess, genesis story of how I got into crypto. My trade prior to joining Ripple and in the crypto industry, I was in financial services. I was in investment banking and sales and trading at JP Morgan. And I was just starting my career and on the trading floor. And there was this asset a friend of mine told me about. Actually, I saw it on a Facebook post, and he was saying how the post was basically saying, "Oh, I made all this money from trading Bitcoin," and this was 2013. And again, I was starting my career in traditional finance, and I was like, "All right, well, this is cool. It's a new asset to trade," and I decided to buy some Bitcoin, and I did so by wiring money to a Japanese exchange, or to Japan at the time, to Mt. Gox. And so obviously we all know the story of what happened with Mt. Gox. I lost my crypto, my 1.5 Bitcoin, my $500. People were laughing at me on the trading floor. And I really went down a rabbit hole. I was like, well, what did I just lose my money on? What did I just spend my money on? And like I said, I purely got in the beginning for speculative reasons. And then went down that rabbit hole, started reading about blockchain technology, how it can seamlessly transfer value in a trustless way. My parents are from the Soviet Union. I grew from the Ukraine. And so we know what can happen with hyperinflation and central bank printing and just economic situations where people just lose their life savings overnight. I became incredibly interested in crypto and in blockchain technology and the promise of what it can do for the financial services system. And it came to a point where I was reading more about crypto and blockchain than I was about TradFi, about stocks, bonds. And actually, I was an energy banker towards the end of my career working on renewable energy. For me, this was a clear sign that, hey, I need to switch careers. And I did that in the most risk-averse way possible. I ended up going to business school, and my timing was really great. I was lucky enough to go in 2017, and I was able to co-found the Penn Blockchain Club in 2017 at school, and was able to just develop this awesome network of folks. And I ended up finding an internship at Ripple. And Ripple was just such a great place to be for me, right? As an ex-banker, ex-TradFi person, it felt they were solving a real use case. Like there was real utility to what they were doing, cross-border payments, which is actually very near and dear to my heart because as I had family in Ukraine, sending payments over there was always a mess in terms of fees and how long it would take. And yeah, came on as an intern, worked on the markets team, made my way up the ranks, came on full time the year after graduating, and been at Ripple ever since. And that's been my journey. It's been 4 years. It's been an awesome, fun, wild 4 years.
Awesome. Thank you, Boris. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure it has been a fun and wild 4 years. And as you'll be all too aware, Boris, a lot happens across the crypto markets in 4 or 5 years. Some companies come and go. Other companies are forced to pivot, to respond to different market conditions. Ripple, one of the big boys, almost an OG at this point of blockchain, I suppose, as is the XRP ledger. And look, the kind of use case for XRP, you kind of talked about it yourself, is remittances and just moving money around as quickly and as efficiently as possible. But I think your position, Boris, you are head of DeFi at Ripple. So to begin with, do you want to just, people know what DeFi is, I suppose, but explain a little bit more about your role and your context, your overview as head of DeFi at Ripple and what that means.
Yeah, I think people do know what DeFi is, but I think there's multiple definitions for it. I'll tell you how we think about DeFi at Ripple. We think of DeFi, well, decentralized finance, is really using blockchain technology to optimize and create efficiencies in traditional financial services activities. And specifically, really, there's 3 activities. There's lending, there's trading, and there's payments. And we believe that blockchain technology can lower the costs of traditional financial services for all of these, all 3 of those activities. And the benefit of doing so, it's part of, really, frankly, our Internet of Value vision. I think institutions are the reason why you'll see a lot of people. They're the reason why people come into the financial services system, right? We always talk about people being underbanked. Well, one of the reasons people are underbanked is it's not economical for financial institutions to bank most of the world, right? The cost for doing a transaction that's 1 penny or $100 or $100,000 is virtually the same. Blockchain technology can bring those costs significantly lower and make it profitable and economical to bank the underbanked. And that's what really gets me excited. And that's how we think about it. So at Ripple, I'm heading up our DeFi markets team, or DeFi partnerships rather. And so I'm focused on figuring out ways to implement decentralized finance in a compliant way for our institutions and our institutional partners. Everybody knows that decentralized finance has worked, right? We see TVL, we see transactions, we see incredible returns that people are making. However, you don't really see as much institutional adoption because there are certain challenges with DeFi as it stands today, specifically regarding compliance, KYC, AML. We're figuring out, and my goal at Ripple is to figure out how do we get institutions, how do we adapt the technology in a way that is friendly for institutions, for them to understand and for it to be compliant so that they can come on board and join the revolution.
Yeah, very nicely said, Boris. And, funnily enough, a month or so ago, earlier this year, you and the team at Ripple released a report. I believe it's called 2023 New Value Report, Crypto Trends in Business and Beyond. So obviously, you've spoken to all sorts of global finance leaders and gauged just how interested they are in exploring a DeFi and other sectors of the crypto economy. And yeah, I think I've been looking through the report. There's some interesting stuff in it. It's divided into three sections, which I thought was quite interesting, as they kind of relate to the Internet of Value. There's tokenize, there's manage, and there's move. I don't know. Do you want to just briefly summarize what we mean by those three sections? Why it's been segmented that way, Boris?
Yep. And so in our eyes, those are kind of the three critical components, or the three building blocks to enable that Internet of Value. One is tokenizing assets, tokenizing real world assets and real world value. So that's really transforming value from, let's say, the analog world into the digital world. Managing those assets, figuring out ways to make sure those assets are secure, are held in a secure place, are able to be trusted, right? And that that the underlying asset that token represents is also, let's say, credible and secure as well. And then the third component is once those assets are tokenized, made in digital form, once there is fidelity that those assets are in a safe place, are secured, are one for one, represent the actual underlying, you have to figure out how to move those assets, or they can be moved, especially when they're on the XRP ledger, and they can be moved cheaply, and they can move very fast, and they can move so in a way that has a minimal impact minimal environmental impact.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. Makes sense. And I don't know if you've got the report in front of you, but I've had just a quick look, and some of the key findings. There's lots of nice charts and stats and so on, as you'd expect. But some of the takeaways, it says, Boris, global finance leaders are confident in crypto, digital assets, and blockchain. And over the last 6 months, finance leaders' confidence in the crypto industry has, 72% of them say that their confidence has increased, which seems, well, that's nice and high, Maybe just, do you want to just talk to the kind of the general reaction of, the various people that you and Ripple talk to across the global financial industry, and how they are slowly, if they are slowly coming around to the possibilities of crypto, of DeFi, of XRP. What are they saying to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned a little while in your introduction, early on in this conversation, Ripple is an OG. We've been around for over 10 years, and we've been building crypto solutions for businesses. And it is incredibly rewarding to see that businesses are indeed adopting. They're recognizing the fact that blockchain technology, as I mentioned, really can lower costs, create efficiencies, and grow the bottom line. And in turn, that means they can expand their customer and user base. Institutions, I started 4 years ago. I remember having conversations with various traditional financial services institutions, whether it be exchanges or traders or even payment providers, and they were skeptical at first, right? And it was really difficult to explain to them, hey, this is what blockchain technology can do for your business. This is what blockchain technology is meant for, and this is what you can expect from it. I think we're very lucky to have seen the last 4 years with crypto and innovation and DeFi really booming, and really taking a life of its own. And you're seeing folks like, as you've seen, DBS and JP Morgan and a number of others launching pilots, figuring out how to use DeFi. So those conversations have gotten significantly easier. In fact, we used to call institutions and say, hey, we want to talk to you about XRP Ledger. We want to talk to you about blockchain technology. We want to talk to you about what it can do for your business. Now those institutions are calling us. So it's really it's been very pleasant and rewarding to see that our hypothesis is playing out as we expected. And the reactions, like I said, are incredibly positive. Institutions want to use blockchain technology and crypto. They just need to figure out how to do so in a compliant way. After all, if you look at a traditional financial services institution or any institution, right, their primary business, and especially the successful ones, typically they've survived and gotten where they are and as successful as they are without crypto and blockchain technology. But in order to compete, in order to lower costs, in order to grow the bottom line, they're turning to these solutions as a way to do so. And therefore, those conversations are a lot easier than what they used to be. And it's been a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, well, I think, what you're kind of talking about there, Boris, is, the world is changing. And instead of changing slowly, it's starting to change rapidly as, the digitization of everything continues at pace, and people are just becoming much more used to looking after all areas of their financial activities online. And the power to do that now is, you can put it into the hands of the individual if you want, and really start to get really granular. And, DeFi, blockchain, Web3, great examples of really, I suppose, the Wild West testing ground of what really is possible. And it's certainly an exciting future. But, there are risks as well, as we all know. There's a section in the managed section of the report, Boris, when you talk about institutional DeFi is making waves. I guess the headline there is, it says 76% of global finance leaders are interested in exploring DeFi as a means of driving innovation for their business in the next 3 years. And you list a variety of use cases there, risk management, real world asset tokenization and liquidity management, insurance, identity management, and of course, DeFi borrowing and lending. So I'd love to just sort of get your thoughts on this. And also, if we're talking about global financial leaders, that's one thing. To talk about, the traditional legacy banking system, if you like. I'd love to get your perspectives on how and when some of the promise and potential of DeFi comes to the traditional banking space. Because I think the reality is, and you'll be all too aware of it, these bankers and leaders probably are as well. They do need to start innovating over the next 5 years because the technology is advancing so quickly. If they don't innovate, they will start to look like very old-fashioned service providers very quickly. And of course, one more point on that, the context that's happening around that as well is, as the baby boomers slowly retire and move on, there's a vast amount of wealth that has been sitting around, perhaps not doing too much, that is being inherited down the chain to the generations below, who are much more comfortable with running their own finances in a digital way. And the implications of that are quite interesting as to what happens over the next decade or so, Boris.
Well, easy questions.
I know, a lot going on there.
Sure. So let's kind of discuss. I'll start kind of with the decentralized finance and kind of some of those components in the report. I think I really want to touch on decentralized identity. So as I mentioned, institutions are trying to figure out how to utilize blockchain technology, how to utilize DeFi to in a way that creates those efficiencies, but they want to do so in a regulatory compliant way. And that's the crux of it. That's the challenge. Decentralized identity is a step forward in that direction, right? It's a step forward of enabling KYC AML processes that somewhat mirror the what institutions, or the playground that institutions are used to today. And decentralized identity can help enable that. And that could bring in, in DeFi, right, TVL is, a couple $100 billion, I believe, something like that. That could bring in trillions of dollars if that is done correctly and once that's enabled. So very excited about decentralized identity and the impact it could have on DeFi and bringing in folks into the ecosystem. Now, similarly, I guess touching on that, right? Talking about flows of funds from institutions. You touched on boomers and baby boomers and that whole transfer of wealth. It's interesting if you look at the average age of somebody in crypto, right, and using blockchain technology, they tend to skew lower. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so you'll have to forgive me, but I imagine those skew quite younger, right?
Yeah.
And seeing folks that have that transfer of wealth happening from the elderly generation to that younger generation, you wonder, one could speculate that flow will then eventually come into that crypto, into blockchain, as these younger generation are familiar with the technology, familiar with the promises, and that's really cool and exciting to see. Now, with regards to kind of the legacy banks, right? They are in the same boat as these large traditional financial services institutions. They are subject to extremely, at least I'll speak to in the US, subject to extremely rigorous and tight regulation, right? And compliance processes, etc. They know they need to adapt, but at the same time, you look at their competitors. If their competitors aren't necessarily adapting, they don't need. There is no rush. But I think what you're seeing with a lot of these neobanks coming in that are run, frankly, by more, I'd say, tech-first, more innovative-minded folks that are trying to create efficiencies, you're seeing they're finally starting to feel a bit of that pressure, that competitive pressure. And therefore, one can expect that they're eventually going to have to, as they're going to see some of their funds flow out of those institutions into these newer ones, you could start saying, hey, we need to do something. And that sense of urgency, maybe there's a tipping point where it reaches, and then you'll see kind of a big wave of adoption of certain kinds of technologies that can help enable that. But frankly, kind of the way I see it, you just need one, right? You need one of your competitors to really go out and do it. One of these older legacy institutions to go out and do it, for others to really then follow suit. And that's only a matter of time until it happens. Our hypothesis is very much it will happen. The question is not if, the question is when. But the problem with the banking system, we're familiar, right? Ripple's products, RippleNet and ODL, really were built to help remove some of those frictions of traditional banking systems, specifically with regards to cross-border payments. So if you think about SWIFT, or you think about a payment, there's really two components, right? There's a messaging layer and a settlement layer. The messaging layer is what most of us know as SWIFT, right? And that's just a message of, hey, move funds from here to here. But the actual settlement layer is done through these correspondent banking relationships. So, if you want to send money to Armenia or Philippines, etc., from the US, sometimes you have to, the chain goes US bank to a UK bank to a Singaporean bank, then to a Philippines bank. And each one of those banks in that process, or in one of those financial institutions in that process, end up taking a cut because for helping facilitate that settlement layer. And that was one of the reasons, and we felt that is a ton of friction because, right, there's a ton of cost that's associated there, and it can take, as long as 5 days sometimes to get a payment settled. And we felt that that's just too long, and that money should move just like information. And this is the age of the internet, right? Where you can send a photo or a movie to someone across the world in a matter of seconds. And that's why we really work to create ODL and to do that in a more efficient way. And like I said, it's only a matter of time until we're going to see really a big move towards adoption of technologies that do create efficiencies within that traditional legacy banking system. And DeFi is part of it. payments are part of it, lending, borrowing, all of those different traditional financial services activities. We're seeing them slowly get disrupted. I don't even like the word disruption because that implies kind of an out with the old. There is an evolution, and it's a technological evolution that's happening.
Yep. Very nicely said, Boris. And, what I thought is interesting is that as much as, what you're talking about really is Ripple's relationships with, I guess, the traditional financial industry, just as a kind of way of summarizing it. But at the same time, I know that Ripple are actively working and partnering with crypto native companies. So, are you aware of the Ripple partnership with the Futureverse? Futureverse is it's kind of like a conglomeration of 10 kind of AI Web3 NFT companies that have all come together, and they just launched what they call the Root Network, which is a new blockchain. And I think that was basically in partnership with Ripple. And I know XRP is used on that blockchain for gas fees and things like that. Boris.
Yep, I'm aware, right? The Root Network is using XRP as a gas token.
Yes.
And it's really exciting to see the validation and really another use case for XRP.
Yeah, very much so. Well, as we start to finish off this part of the podcast, then, Boris, I guess just for anyone interested in learning more from any kind of angle on what you and the team are building out and helping facilitate at Ripple, where should they go? Tell people where they should go. I'm sure you've got lots of various resource-heavy places across the internet. And at the same time, look, is there anything that you can share that you guys are working on or you think is coming down the product pipeline or anything like that?
Yeah, and then I'll start with some resources first. I mean, obviously the Ripple Twitter account. There's the Ripple corporate account, but if you're a developer and want to hear what's happening more on the crypto side of things, like some of these partnerships with the Futureverse and others in the cryptoverse, I definitely follow the Ripple X dev account as well. Likewise, I encourage people to hop on the XRPL Discord. I think it's a great place to see the XRPL community interact. And you can learn all of the new projects that are coming down the line that are not built by Ripple, but built by the community. And we're super pumped about those. There's, everything in, from the NFT space to payments to trading to all sorts of different projects out there. Similarly, like if you're a corporation, you want to get a sense of, hey, what is Ripple doing? What are the crypto solutions for business that we're building? I definitely urge you to go to our website, to the Ripple website, and we have a ton of resources on there. If you want to learn what we're doing on the CBDC side, you can learn there. Obviously, subscribe to our reports. A big proponent of those as well. And then, like what I'm really excited about. One of the things that Ripple as a contributor to the XRPL is building and is going to propose to the ledger is the AMM functionality. And AMM functionality, the XRP ledger right now has a central limit order book DEX and has a matching engine in there. Ripple's developers are proposing a AMM functionality. But this AMM functionality is going to be improved, is an improvement of the existing AMMs out there, particularly with regards to the impact it has on impermanent loss. The AMM functionality, XLS30, the proposal written by David Schwartz, has a mechanism called the continuous auction mechanism, which helps fight and minimize impermanent loss, which is the number one thing that has been plaguing AMMs. In my mind, something like that can really lead to a lot of institutional adoption as well. Institutions, unlike individuals, I think are very particular and very cost conscious. So even, a few basis points can have an impact on whether or not they go one route or another. So impermanent loss, can be in the many percentage points, especially if you're a contributor to a liquidity pool. And a technological advantage or way to solve for and minimize impermanent loss is really exciting.
Yes, indeed. All right, got it. Thank you for sharing all that, Boris. Let's go to a very quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll run Boris through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Back in 1 second.
This episode is sponsored by Coinsbee, your digital pocket for spending crypto. With an extensive selection of brands available in 185 countries and supporting over 200 cryptos, Coinsbee turns your digital assets into gift cards, game points, phone top-ups, and even Visa MasterCard prepaid cards. Plus, with fast checkouts using your favorite crypto, or even speedier with Binance Pay, Coinsbee makes it simple to spend your crypto. Visit Coinsbee.com today and get honey for your crypto money.
All right, we are back, and I'm with Boris Alergant. He is the head of DeFi at Ripple. Boris, I'd like to finish on some rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, Boris. Just going to run some questions at you. Just want kind of your honest answers, hot take style, just a bit of fun. Question one for you. Where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I'm definitely a multi-chain opportunist. It's a multi-chain world, and we very much believe that at Ripple as well.
Yeah, I thought you might say that. All right, well, what would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion, Boris?
My firmest crypto conviction is that Satoshi Nakamoto will never be found. I don't think we will ever know his true identity.
Yes, very, very well said. I agree with that. I think it would, and I think it's in absolutely everyone's best interest for it to stay that way. Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. Whatever you like here, Boris, Ripple, DeFi, what does it look like in 10 years' time?
Yeah, in 10 years' time, we won't even know as individuals that we're interacting in DeFi or with DeFi. It's going to be the back end of many institutions. As a user, you won't know if it's a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange or CeFi or DeFi route that your transaction is taking. All you know is that it's going to complete, it's going to be secure, and you're going to get the best pricing.
Yeah, got it. Nice. William Gibson, famous sci-fi author, said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Boris, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we're using blockchain technology, and institutions are using blockchain technology, facilitating $15 billion a year of cross-border payments flow. Crypto is pretty mainstream at this point. Institutions are using it. You probably don't even know many of your payment providers, when you're sending money cross-border, are probably Ripple customers.
100%. All right, time to finish this off. Boris, finally, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Oh, man, I was a Star Trek guy.
Nice. What, any particular seasons, series, flavors, Star Trek flavors?
I was very actually impressed. I used to watch the ones as a kid on TV, but I think I was very impressed with the 2 movies that they came out most recently. Oh God, what's that actor's name? He does a great Captain Kirk.
Yeah, I know who you mean. I don't know his name either, but yeah. Great to see Star Trek still, new ships, new crews, heading out on new voyages to new galaxies all the time, going where humans have never been before. Great to see.
Exactly. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
It feels like it's a lot like the journey we're all taking now too.
100%. Very well said, Boris. Hey, look, I've enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and coming on the show. Nothing else to say really, except once again, look, tell people where they can find you on Twitter or wherever else you like to hang out. And look, feel free to shout out those Ripple digital properties as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm at Borisimo _ on Twitter, and there's RippleXDev and Ripple Twitter accounts. Definitely check us out on the XRPL Discord. Thank you again, Andy, for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Boris. All the best, and bye for now.
Take care.
All right, there you go. That was Boris from Ripple. Hey, Boris was fun. Enjoyed talking to Boris. And yeah, cool to see what Ripple are doing. I mean, Ripple, they are an OG in the space. Yeah, as are XRP. Of course, XRP is just one of those coins, one of those tokens, has a lot of fans, has a lot of detractors, but really so does every coin, every token community in crypto. It's just how it works. We're tribal. I don't know if that's the best way to help bring about global adoption of crypto. Be probably more productive if everyone works together, but I guess we're heading in that direction. It's a multi-chain world, as Boris said. All right, let's leave it there, folks. Thanks for listening. Please make sure you are subscribed to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using, but that is it for today. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. See ya.